according to the World Health Organization, more than 700,000 people commit suicide each year, and suicide is the third leading cause of death in 15 to 19-year-olds. This year, the Teen Suicide Prevention Week, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group is helping parents, teachers and communities by sharing information on how to have difficult conversations around teen depression as well as suicide prevention. To talk more on this, we're joined by Cassey Chambers from the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. Cassey, good morning and thank you very much for your time. You know, this is a very important subject where, as adults, many say we need to appreciate our role in either exacerbating or decreasing the anxiety or emotional distress in teens. But how do we honestly go about doing this when there's a clear disconnect or conscious bias, if you will, where some adults just can't fathom how troubled teens could be when they have mouths to feed?
Absolutely, and this is one of the key reasons a lot of teens reach out to us, is they often say, my parents don't understand what I'm saying or what I'm dealing with.
Yes.
They don't understand my problems. They tell me to just get over it. And we could all relate to being a teenager when all these things that as an adult seem really small or insignificant are really a big deal for a lot of teenagers. And I think we're SADAG, through all of our calls and engagements with schools, learners are dealing with a lot of different issues. It's never just one thing, right? It's never just the breakup or just the fight with the best friend. It's so many other reasons coming together. And I think their biggest problem is they often feel like they don't have anyone to turn to, anyone to talk to, and that their parents won't understand. And again, as adults, we think, well, you'll get over it. Things are going to happen. You'll move on. And we downplay what they're going through. And I think we really have to take it seriously that our teens are dealing with a lot. They could be suffering and not coping, and they actually need to be having better conversations. And this is why this campaign for Teen Suicide Prevention Week is so important. Parents are not equipped with a rule book or a guidebook of what to say, what to do as parents, but we're really just trying to help them on how to have those conversations, what to say and what not to say, so that you actually have a better idea of what is going on.
So talk to us about this rule book or some of the tools to empower parents to have these difficult conversations.
So often what we find is a lot of parents and even teachers and family members don't like talking about suicide. We have the fear that if we start to talk about suicide, that we're going to plant the seed in our teen's head or their mind to think about suicide. And that's not the case. From research around the world, talking about suicide actually prevents suicide. So often having a real conversation and asking direct questions. Have you ever had thoughts of ending your life? Or have you ever felt so down that you feel like there's no solution? Sometimes giving tips to parents and teachers, what to say, how to start that conversation, and normalizing talking about mental health is incredibly important. We're often too scared to talk about these big topics, so we leave it and we think someone else will deal with it, or it's not a problem, or it doesn't affect my child. But by not talking about it, we're not engaging in conversation. We're not talking about these things. And one of the tips we're sharing even during this week as Teen Suicide Prevention Week is encouraging and letting parents know when to have this conversation. Not always waiting until there is a crisis, but having the conversation in the car, on the way to school or on the way back from school, having it around the dinner table. And it could be as simple as saying, hey, I heard about this teen suicide. Have you ever known someone, or have you ever had feelings like that where you think like suicide would be the only way to end your problems? Sometimes starting the conversation can be the biggest step in creating awareness.
So, Cassey, what happens to those parents? Because, parenting is just, it has no manual. What happens to those parents who, in fact, lack that emotional intelligence to handle this type of a conversation with the sensitivity that it deserves? Do you have a situation where the children can, in fact, the teens can, in fact, call themselves and speak to a professional about these thoughts throughout this week, if not throughout the year?
Absolutely. And I think this is where we're empowering parents. If this is a conversation that you can't have, or a loved one, or you're an aunt or an uncle or a teacher, encourage your teen to speak to someone. Encourage them to speak to a teacher or a counselor at school, or they can even pick up the phone to SADAG. We're open 24 hours a day. The most important thing is that they have connections to support systems, that they have someone that they can talk to, even if it's not you. The most important thing is that they're talking. And I think as a parent, we always think that this will never happen to my teen, it will never happen to my family. We deal with so many suicides on a daily basis and speak to so many families. Avoid the would've, could've, should've. Learn more about depression today. Look out for the signs and symptoms and know that this could happen to your teenager or someone that you know. So start the conversation, encourage them to speak to someone. At least they're speaking to someone. And if you, as a parent, even want information, you can go just read up what to say, what not to say, what information to gather. Go visit SADAG's website at www.sadag.org.
Now, before we let you go, perhaps just from your data, what are some of the triggers or some of the issues that teens are dealing with now? I mean, we were teens a long time ago. There was no social media. It seems like there is a lot to deal with.
There definitely is. And there's so many different things that seem to happen at once, never mind dealing and learning and living in a new world during COVID. But so much more pressure is done on social media, online groups. We've also seen the huge impact of cyberbullying, the pressures of cyberbullying and online social media. But we're also seeing it's a combination of issues. And the key reasons that teenagers call us who are suicidal are often family problems, a divorce or separation or abuse in the home. Relationship breakups are a big deal. And again, we can all relate to being that teen. But for a teen, when their world comes to an end, if a relationship with a boyfriend or girlfriend comes to an end, or a best friend, this has significant change for them. And I think it's really looking at there's a combination of these issues that could contribute to a teenager feeling like suicide is the only way to end all their problems.
Sure. No, it's honestly very painful. So you're saying for the teens, they can also reach out themselves if they're not comfortable to have the conversation or parents don't feel comfortable themselves. They can reach out at any time to SADAG.
Absolutely. We run the country suicide crisis helpline. We have trained volunteers who are wanting to help you wherever you're calling in the country. Call us on our toll-free helpline, 0800 567 567. I'll say it again, 0800 567 567. We provide free telephone counseling and crisis intervention so we can support teachers, learners, friends, parents. The most important thing is that we talk about this topic and that we encourage people to get help before it's too late.